And for more on this and other issues, both in Washington and closer to home, Congressman Patrick Maloney, who represents New York's 18th congressional district, is kind enough to join us. Congressman, thank you.
Good to be with you.
You too. Always interesting times in Washington. I might as well get your take on the headline du jour on immigration. The president making it clear he's going to wait till after November to address this. Not only supporters, but even some of your colleagues taking the president to task on this, saying that why wait? And more than that, this is safe politics. And for every month you put this thing off, more people are impacted. Did the president do the right thing here, or should he have not waited till after the November elections to get into this?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the president's doing on this. What I support is fixing a broken system. And whatever the president's going to do or not do can never be a substitute for the Congress doing its job, which is to fix this broken system. We've got a compromise bipartisan bill that came out of the Senate. House should vote on it. And if people think they can do better with it, they should.
Other big issue this week's going to be the president's address. I know he's going to be talking to some of the invested folks on this, and then he'll address the nation, give the strategy for ISIS. But he made it clear this thing's going to take years. We're not talking months here. What do you think the public's comfortable with? And what do you think is practical in Washington, whether it be funding and what kind of a commitment? Because this could even go into the next administration conceivably.
What I hear from people all around the Hudson Valley is they want swift, lethal justice administered against the people who killed our citizens. That's number one. It means something to be an American, and you should get the full protection of your government, and we should hunt down these killers and bring them to justice. What I also hear is that we should not get involved in someone else's civil war, and I agree with that. And we should not have another war in the Middle East with thousands, tens of thousands of American kids on the ground caught in the middle of this endless civil war in somebody else's country. So we need to be smart, but we need to defend our citizens and our own national security interest. See, that's the key for me. What is in the national security interest of the United States? I want our kids here, you know, having good jobs, getting a good education, rebuilding our country. I want to invest in our country, and I don't want to see us get tied down in somebody else's civil war.
The absence of a coherent strategy, and you don't even have to follow this as closely as you do. Folks at home say, wait a minute, we see what's playing out in Syria right now. We obviously see what's happening on the ground in Iraq. We see what's happening in Eastern Europe with Ukraine. Obviously, we're not even talking about Gaza, et cetera. So many tinderboxes going on right now, and our role in this new world, if you will, without the nation-state wars, but all these various agendas, it's an unsettling time. Is it possible to have a coherent strategy as to what America responsibility is globally, or does this all have to be case-by-case basis? Because it's kind of like we're figuring out as we're going along.
Well, of course we can have a strategy. And if you look at other parts of our history where the world was equally unsettled, wise American leaders worked together across the aisle and across the oceans with our partners to defend our interests, promote our values, and grow our own economy. I mean, the number one thing we need to do is grow our own economy. That means investing in our own infrastructure, in our own research, in our own schools, in our own kids, so that we can lead the world with our economic might again. And from that position of power, defend our interests, work with allies, and promote our values. And we can do all these things the way we have done before in American history. If you look at the period after the Second World War, the world was certainly a very challenging place. But we built alliances. We built our middle class. We promoted our own values, and we should do that again.
You mentioned Washington. For people who don't know, you were involved in the Clinton administration before you ran and obviously got elected. It was a very partisan time then as well, but it seemed that more stuff got done. You've seen all the approval ratings or lack thereof for Congress as an electorate body right now. There's just this sense that what's the point? And you think it's bad now. Imagine the next 2 years before the presidential. Why is the inaction as bad as it is now, and how much responsibility goes to not just Congress but the administration also for either not enough hand-holding, enough bringing people across the aisles? Why is it so bad?
Well, there's plenty of blame to go around. I think it's better to work to move forward than to point fingers. In my short time in Congress, in the year and a half I've been given by the voters in the 18th congressional district, I've passed 13 bills through the House of Representatives. That's pretty good for a freshman in the minority. 3 of those bills have been signed into law by the president, and they're all bipartisan. And that's why they're getting done. And so what I've done is said, there's enough people fighting on Fox and MSNBC. I'm going to let them fight. I'm going to work. And that's why we're getting results. All of the bills are bipartisan. What do? They invest in our infrastructure, better dam safety for the Hudson Valley, help our veterans, reduce disability claim wait times. Bipartisan bill, I got it passed. Reform the crop insurance program and pass a good farm bill for our farmers, because that grows our economy and helps our local businesses. And there's other bills I'm working on to improve the safety of Metro North, to do things like invest in American infrastructure by channeling billions of private funds into it alongside public funds. There's so much work to do that I think that if we just stop fighting long enough and focus on the things that we can agree on, we'll make progress. I joined No Labels. I've been ranked the 7th most independent Democrat out of 200 in the House. I'm very proud of that. I've been ranked by National Journal the 15th most independent member of Congress out of everybody. That's the top 3%. Why? Because that's what works. Because cooperation works. That's how we built our country. That's how we build our economy. That's how we did it in the Clinton administration, even when there was all this other stuff going on. That's how we need to do it again. And I'm a Bill Clinton Democrat. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you look at how we grew the economy then, balanced our budget, paid down the debt, and did it to help the middle class, that's the model.
To that end, you've seen it up close under a different administration, and now there's always been an argument that, well, you can't work with those folks, the Republicans, the president, no matter what he says. If he says it's light out, they'll say it's dark. Is that too easy? Could the administration, from your vantage point, you got a unique one in this one because you've seen how it's worked before in partisan environments, could they be doing more? Or does the other side just doesn't want to work with them regardless? I'm not talking on the congressional level. I'm talking from the administration working with Congress.
Both. Both. We can all do more, and there are people who don't want to do anything the president says, even if it makes perfect sense. I'm not one of them. And there's a group of 100 of us in the No Labels group who have said, there's too much fighting in both parties. This isn't about political parties. It's about the United States of America. And we are going to work together. Now, I come from a district where we have pretty much even numbers of Republicans and Democrats. I think that's a good thing. One of the things that drives me nuts is that we have too many of these gerrymandered districts around the country where nobody worries about losing an election. You have too many members of Congress that are too safe in both parties and don't have to listen to anybody. Or they have to worry about a primary from some guy who's even more extreme than they are, and so they start, working that way instead of working towards the middle. That's what's killing our country. I'm just responsible for my own record, and I'm proud of it. I'm the 7th most independent Democrat in my party, top 3% in the House, 13 bills passed through the House, all of them bipartisan. And it's because I'm working with local Republican town supervisors, my Republican colleagues across the aisle in this region and elsewhere. Look at the bills I've introduced. They're all bipartisan. That's the way forward.
Your opponent 2 years ago and your opponent this fall, a big issue was health care. Now, if pressed on it, do you say this was good, not just for America, but good for New York and good for the 18th District? Was health care reform something, in fact, that the administration should run on, not run away from?
There's good things and there's bad things, and that's what I've always said. This bill was passed before I got to Congress. I think the responsible thing that common sense, that people who care about common sense would do is look at what's working and look at what's busted. I've got a bill called the Mom and Pop Shop Act that helps moms and dads who run a small business themselves get group coverage again, because that's one of the things I think that was bad in healthcare is they can't do that anymore. But there's also lots of people being helped, and that's good. Anybody who's got a kid over 21 on their insurance policy, I hear people love that. It's good that pre-existing conditions are a thing of the past. Your insurance company can't cancel your coverage. That's a good thing. And there's other things that are worth keeping in healthcare reform. Unfortunately, my opponent says junk it and let's go back and fight. I want to move forward and work together to fix what's broken and keep what's good.
A couple questions as a New Yorker, not necessarily something you're going to get a vote on tomorrow. Well, I guess get a vote on is the primary in New York. And there's been a lot of interesting numbers. Apparently some internal numbers show that while the governor's expected to win and win handily tomorrow, a decent size of the Democratic primary voters might break for his more progressive challenger. Do you understand and do you hear that too, that there's a conflict among New York State Democrats, that maybe the way the governor's running things isn't maybe Democrat in name only?
look, we're the Democratic Party, and we're going to always have a big, healthy, sometimes raucous conversation. But I think Andrew Cuomo's been a great governor. And if you look at the situation he inherited, if you look how he's brought back order and functionality to that state government, passing 4 on-time budgets, you know, he passed marriage equality. He's gotten some big things done. And most importantly, he's growing our economy again, and we're doing better than other parts of the country. I think he's earned a second term, and I'm supporting him.
Indian Point. Obviously is important in your district. Do you think the positives outweigh the negatives, or are you concerned? The governor's been very vocal, saying that if it's up to him, he'd like to see the thing shut down.
I'd like to see it shut down in a responsible way that protects the jobs and the local economy. But you would never build that plant there today. We all know it's only got about another 20 years of useful life, and it's going to take us half that time, even if we were trying to shut it down responsibly, to do it right. So I think what responsible people should do is come up with a plan to transition away from Indian Point, to replace that power, protect the jobs and the local economy, because we shouldn't have an active nuclear power plant in this part of the country. My kids go to bed 10 miles from Indian Point. I worry about it. I think we should all worry about it. And if you look at what the Japanese are dealing with in Fukushima, you know, we should all worry about it. But we have to do it responsibly. And we can do that with existing sources, with the new generation that's coming online, with transmission alternatives, through conservation. There's good alternatives. We should pursue them.
We're going to be speaking this hour with a representative from one of the casinos that are bidding to obviously be one of the ones that gets final selection. We see what happened in Atlantic City very recently. You think casinos are a good or a bad bet for the state of New York?
Well, I think the way the governor has designed the process, it's made it much more likely that it will be something healthy. You know, as part of a comprehensive economic development model, it can be part of the formula. If you look at the way Las Vegas developed, we'll never be that, but there's a better integration of shopping and of entertainment, of retail space, of leisure. That's a better model. If you have a standalone casino, which was the Atlantic City model, or we've seen it in other parts of New York, it tends not to go as well. What I want to do is grow this economy. I want guys working on the job. I want hammers on the job. I want job creation for the middle class people. And if this can be part of growing our part of the state, of getting Stewart Airport going again, of revitalizing the city of Newburgh, the city of Poughkeepsie, of helping Orange County grow, then it's something that I'll support. But I think we need to watch it very closely.
Finally, as anybody can tell, you like getting stuff done, and it's not like you couldn't do other things in your life. So I mean this sincerely. Has there been a point in the year and a half where, while you've passed legislation, including streamlining stuff for veterans, which I think is great and important, and other things, that you said, this is, you know, dysfunction cubed? You've seen a lot of people retire out of frustration on Capitol Hill. Have you ever come close to saying, I just don't need this in my life, I can do something else? No,
I have fresh legs on this. I'm very excited about what's possible.
You haven't been beaten down enough yet.
No, I have not. And maybe it's just because I'm not that smart. But I will tell you, I'm encouraged that we can still do things if we work together. I'm encouraged that I could get 13 bills passed in 18 months. I'm encouraged that 3 are law. And we've helped 2,000 people out of my congressional office. There's a guy named Ed Kakis in his house tonight because my office went to work and got his disability claim, you know, stuck in the red tape and bureaucracy of the VA. We got it heard, we got it approved, and he's in his house today because we were able to help. And there's 2,000 people like that. 600 of them were veterans. We're working with 48 communities on disaster relief, $300 million of project. We brought $169 million back already that's at work right now, getting us ready for the next storm, fixing the damage from the last one. My predecessor didn't do anything about that stuff, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to be the voice and the vote of people in this part of the world who just want their government to work for the middle class again. It's been a long time since the government supported families like the one I grew up in, where my dad was supporting a family of 8 people on 1 income, but he sent 5 kids to college. They sent 5 kids to college on 1 income. There's not a middle-class family in America today that can send 1 kid to college on 2 incomes. We can be a better country, and I get excited about this work, and I want to keep doing it. And that's why I'm asking for another 2-year contract to keep doing this work.
Well, in a couple months, the folks of the 18th are going to make that choice. Congressman, as always, appreciate the time.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.